let's talk about heavenly bodies. I received an arc of this, but there's two caveats before I finish the sentence, before you click away and you're like, oh, she has an arc of it. I don't trust her. Trust me, I asked for it. I went out of my way to ask for it. And I wanted to read the indie version when it was still the indie version, and I waited too long and then it was gone, and then I just had to wait. And then secondly, they do not get to. I don't. When I when I ask for an arc, I just want the book, and they want just me holding it in a picture on my Instagram story or on my feed of some kind. That's all they get from me. Reviews are voluntary and they are of my own word. So everything I'm going to say is because I want to say it. So, Heavenly Bodies is a book about a girl. Wow, it just got really windy and started to snow. Heavenly Bodies is about a girl named Alara who is the princess of the darkness realm of dark. Oh, Kingdom of Night, sorry. You always get those ones too confused. The Kingdom of Night, and it starts with her in the middle of being kidnapped, and she's trying to get away from being kidnapped because one of the stars, who are basically like gods, the star of war, found her, came down and like offed her parents, and then she was kidnapped when she was told to run. And it turns out the people who kidnapped her was the Kingdom of Light, who the Light Kingdom and the Night Kingdom. Wait, I just realized, why is it night? Why are they the Kingdom of Night and they're the Kingdom of Light? Shouldn't they be like the Kingdom of the Sun or something like that? Or of day? Whatever. Anyways, the Light Kingdom kidnaps her, and she does get away from them for like a second, and to show she's badass. And then she ends up going back with them, and then she goes to see the king and his young son, the prince, the lion, Enzo. And it turns out the Light Kingdom the Light Kingdom wants to use her as a weapon because she is the only person who cannot be killed by a star, by their like special star power. She's the only one who can withstand it, and he wants her to help them kill the stars and like take back they don't want to be overruled by the gods anymore. And she basically has nowhere else to go because her kingdom is in shambles. That evil guy is like sitting on her throne. Her friends are dead, and it turns out her parents had kept her like in a tower her entire life, so like she never made friends aside from like this one friend, who is also who's been captured by like she was stayed. So Alara is like I got nowhere else to go, and they're like, well, you don't really even have a choice. So like you can either like stay and be our ally, or you can stay and be our ally. Those are the two options because we did actually kidnap you. Like you don't really have a choice. We're offering you a choice, but there isn't really a choice. And she's like, well, I guess there really isn't a choice, and I have nowhere else to go. So she says, fine. And there's like this whole prophecy that she's supposed to fall in love with the god of war, and that's what kills them both. Or the king of star. Well, okay. So there's a prophecy, and like there's seers throughout, and like I love seers in fantasy, and especially love when they're like actual like productive members of the cast and not just like characters that like push the plot forward, you know what I mean? And there is a side character seer who like uses her seer abilities like in the fight to like help them, which I really liked. But there's a lot of this like prophecy nonsense throughout the book as well that's like just riddles and like you'll figure it out or you won't. Anyways, Alara and Enzo are like, they flirt but in a mean way, and she's like, oh, he's so handsome, I hate him. And he's like, she's the only one who's ever said anything mean to me, I love her. And they start training together, and like a lot of it is like she has like a mental block on her magic that they're trying to break throughout like most of the story. And they do like, okay, and that's the plot of the story. It's celestial, like light versus like light and dark have to like learn to work together kind of thing. And like there are other magics from other kingdoms, like there's a glamour and the seer and like ice powers and stuff like that. And essentially the story is like Elena learning to wield her power and like to own her power basically, and to like take back the narrative is like what the whole story is. And I really liked that part. And I really liked the book. I'm rating it 4 stars. There is some spice in it. I liked the build to the relationship. I liked Enzo and Alara's relationship. I liked how the side characters come into play. I liked the world. I like the magic. There's some dream walking, and like the shadows aren't just shadows, like they can do things, which I found really interesting. And like Enzo's the one with like, he's the sun and she's the shadow mommy, which is like a fun twist on that. And yeah, I really liked a lot of it. I do think that this is a solid first book. I always have in my book journal, which I have in front of me, like this, I always do like a 1-sentence thought, just like the first thing that comes to my mind. Usually it's just some unhinged nonsense, you know? And this one was, it was just fine. It was adequate. Like, I liked it, but it's nothing truly to write home about. Like, I would kept waiting for this, like, moment, you know, like this, like, wow, that's really cool, or wow, that's really unique, or wow, that was a great, you know, whatever. And I never had, I enjoyed myself all the way through, but I never had that moment, and I kept waiting for that moment. And okay, so I don't like talking about things, like, I don't want to dissuade people from reading books. Like, that's one of my biggest thing is, like, if you want to read a book and you see me say something about it and you're like, oh, I don't want to read it now, like, don't do that, because I'm wrong all the time, and you might like something that I didn't like. You might like a line that I didn't like, or whatever. Where is it? They gave me like a sticker sheet with like, okay, I'll show you the characters. So that's Enzo, and that's Alara. This art, gorgeous, beautiful, loved it. But they also gave me the sticker sheet, and I put some of the stickers on my book journal because they were like very pertaining to the book that I probably wouldn't use them anywhere else. One of the lines, and I know the author was like really trying to do something like, and he says, "You look like the light made love to you." I read that, and it was all in all seriousness. He was trying to be sexy, suave man, and I had to put the book down because I was like, no, 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 no. If a man said that to me, I would immediately walk away. Immediately walk away and be like, come back with a better one. And there's just a few of those like lines where you know when an author is really trying to like make the line that people are gonna annotate, and like make the line that people are gonna like post to their stories or get tattoos of, and I just like, there were these like really clunky lines that felt like jam-packed. Like, I know this because I do this, because I'm like an inspiring author. Like, there are certain like lines that I've like, that's a great line, and I write it in my notes app, and I'm like, I'll save it for like the perfect moment. And I feel like there are those lines where like the author had like, you know, epiphany moment in the grocery store, or, you know, cooking dinner, and she like puts it in her notes app, and then she was like writing the book and she just kind of realized that maybe there wasn't any good lines, and or not, like, there are actually some really great lines in this book that I have plans to annotate for my Instagram post. But like, there are a few of them where I was just like, this is so cringe. Like, I see where it's coming from, and I see what you wanted the end goal to be, but it just wasn't that. A list of tropes, and I know that some people think tropes are spoilers, so if you think that and you don't want to listen to my trope list, then like I'll do this. Just like scroll to when you find this, and that'll be the signal of I'm done talking about tropes. So, tropes. We have reluctant allies, very, very reluctant, but also not really reluctant. Star-crossed lovers, like they are light versus dark. There's prophecies, the chosen one, dream magic, shadow mommy, golden retriever, but would kill you, MMC, celestial inspired, and a relative slow burn. It takes there's a lot of flirting and a lot of banter, but it takes a while to get to the kissing and the sexies and the I love yous, like to the quarter end of the book. And then also my bonus points, because I always do like a bonus point here, is the artist. The MMC is an artist, which I do actually love that. I like when the male love interest does art, is a tortured soul. And I actually thought the way that they did his art was actually kind of like cute, and I just liked the way that she did that. Okay, I'm done talking about tropes. If you think that's a spoiler, you can listen again. One thing I want to just talk about really quick is the pacing of this book. Again, I really liked this book. Just like, it's just a strong a strong solid throughout the whole thing. There's so many unique things. There's, you know, obviously like light versus dark, and like there's a few things that are like kind of like book talk tropey, you know, but there's also enough of it that it's like this is a unique world, and it's not like just like a court of bullshit. Like it's just, you know, it is its own thing while still staying true to what the book girlies love, you know. But the pacing of the book is something I want to talk about. The first chunk of the book is really good. I'm going to put it into thirds. The first chunk of the book is really good. The middle part was productive lollygagging. Things were happening to move the plot, but it was a lot of like meandering plot moving. Like, oh no, we have to go to a ball, and oh no, we're gonna have to do a spicy dance, and oh, while we're at the ball, I did get some information. Oh, you know, that kind of thing. And like a lot of things that happened in this book I would have considered like, I don't want to give like stuff away, but like there's this thing that happens with the female main character, and it only lasts for like 2 or 3 chapters, and then she gets away. And like in other books that would be considered like something that I find is happening in some of these newer debut authors is a lot of things happen in the book, and it almost comes off as cheap and flimsy because the tension isn't there. There's no build up, there's no like sitting with it, and there's no like long resolution, which, you know, if it was a scale, like taking too long and dragging things out is wrong, but also not taking the time. Like a lot of this book, if it was more stretched out, more deepened in, could have been 2 books. And then, you know, whatever. And I just feel like there was just a lot of productive lollygagging. That's how I've said it. And then the climax of the book was, I have something I want to say, and it might come off as a spoiler, and I'm really trying not to spoil, but there was a lot of fake outs, like a concerning amount of them. 1 or 2, fine, but there was a lot of fake outs, and then the end product that's going to lead us into the second book is interesting, but I do feel like I'm gonna read the second book. I want to read the second book. That's where I've landed. I'm interested to see how the author does it. I like the characters, and I liked the relationship, and I really liked the world. And again, I think a lot of my qualms I have about the book is just that this is a new young author, and it takes time to really hone in a craft. Like, you look at authors in their first works versus their later works, and like there's a definite growth chart. Sometimes there's a dip, but there's a definite growth chart, and I think that I am holding out for this growth chart. And also that now she is traditionally published, that there might be more conversations with an editor and more refinement, because I seen the second book was published indie and it was like that big. So I'm hoping there is not a lot of productive lollygagging. That is how I would define this entire book. But I really did like it at the end of the day. And if you want like a celestial inspired world, and you want something that's not just fae, and you want it to be a little bit spicy, but like the romance is a driving plot point, but like through the romance they do a lot of work. And I really liked her shadow magic. Before I end, I almost forgot, and I was recording my podcast with my friend, and I was talking about this book, and I just forgot that I didn't add this in. This is gonna turn someone off, but I think this was just fun. It's fun for me to find these things, and I don't know like what it is that makes it fun for me, but I did find a continuity error. So in one scene, she gets woken up to something, and she like throws on her training gear, and then she goes to see what's happening, and in the next then she's like running away from it because she's having all these feelings, and she's wearing her nightgown and her slippers, and they're like snagging on branches. And I went back because I was like, wait a minute, I swore she put on her training clothes. She did. I double checked. She did put on her training clothes, and in the next page she was wearing her nightgown. So I did find a continuity error, and that's gonna turn people off. But for me, it was just kind of like a fun. It's fun to find like little harmless inaccuracies. For some reason, don't explain it to, like, I can't explain it to you. It doesn't take a knock off the book to me personally, but it does make me go, so